Basic flaws of language education. My terrible experience at the Casa Shelahu school does have one benefit. It's an opportunity to analyze the failures of traditional language education. As you know, language programs have a failure rate of over 95%, which is terrible. Why do they fail so much? What is wrong with language education all over the world? Of course, I know many of the reasons because I know the research on this topic, but it's interesting to experience this failure again as a student. It's interesting to analyze what the schools do and how they think. In fact, I believe the fundamental problems are mental. The reason language schools fail is that they hold certain incorrect beliefs. These beliefs affect their teaching methods, their attitudes, and their behavior. So, what are the basic wrong beliefs that most language schools and teachers hold? Well, number one, teachers can and should force students to speak. This is called the output belief. Most teachers think that output, speaking and writing, is most important in language education. Therefore, they try to force their students to speak and write frequently. They do this even with beginning students, forcing them to speak the language before they are ready. The problem is, this belief is totally wrong. We don't learn language by speaking or writing. We learn from input, listening, and reading. Research shows that understandable input, listening and reading, is the fastest, most efficient, and indeed the only way to learn a language. Does this mean speaking and writing are not important? Of course not. It means that in a classroom, listening and reading must be the primary activities. It means that forcing students to speak is a waste of time. This belief is really a sign of teachers' impatience. They don't have patience, so they try to push the student to speak before they are ready. It's also a sign of teachers' laziness. When the students speak, the teacher can do nothing, just nod their head and pretend to listen. But if the students are going to listen, the teacher has to talk and must try hard to help the students understand. Effortless English is a listen-first method. Our lessons use listening primarily, with some reading. We do this because the research is clear. Listening is the key to learning a language, and listening is the key to speaking well. Belief number 2, teachers can force students to be perfect. This is another sign of teachers' impatience. They believe that the students must be perfect. Teachers believe that errors are bad and must therefore be corrected constantly. They force their students to think about the language, about the rules. And what happens? Their students become nervous and slow. They can't communicate because they are so worried about perfection. They constantly translate and analyze grammar rules. Their speaking is terrible, absolutely terrible. This belief is wrong. Perfection is a lie, and it is not possible. Language learning is a process, a long process. During most of that process, errors are necessary and normal. Children do not speak their native language perfectly. Even highly educated adults make occasional mistakes. To learn quickly, to speak well, students absolutely must make mistakes. The research is clear about this. Students who focus on communication, not perfection, learn faster, speak better, and eventually make fewer errors than students who focus on grammar rules. For this reason, we never focus on perfection with effortless English lessons. we encourage students to communicate. We never analyze grammar rules, and we never teach grammar rules. You learn grammar naturally, like a child. You also enjoy the language. You relax. You smile. You laugh. You think. You learn English by focusing on ideas, stories, and communication. Wrong belief number 3. Error correction helps students speak better. This is a very common lie. Most teachers think that error correction helps students speak better. Unfortunately, many students also think this helps. They actually ask the teacher or a friend to correct their errors while they speak. Now, this seems logical, but it's totally wrong. There is a lot of research about this. In the research, they usually have 2 groups. One group receives a lot of error correction. The other group receives none. The teacher never corrects their spoken errors. After some time, 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, 5 years, they test each group. There is no difference. Both groups still make the exact same number of errors when speaking. So, obviously, error correction is a waste of time. But it's worse than that, because when the teacher corrects your speech, you become nervous. You start thinking about English. Your speech becomes slower. So, both groups make the same number of mistakes still, but the error correction group speaks slower, understands slower, and enjoys the language less, a terrible result. This belief comes from the idea of no pain, no gain. Many teachers think that students must suffer to succeed. They think that the pain of error correction will make the students better and stronger. They are totally wrong. In language learning, it's pain equals no gain. With Effortless English lessons, you are never corrected. Also, we encourage students never to have their speech corrected. Instead, focus on listening to correct English from native speakers. Your errors will improve when you listen to a lot of correct English. Even better, your speech will improve automatically. You don't need to think about it. You don't need to be nervous. You relax, you listen a lot to the lessons, and your grammar and pronunciation improve automatically and effortlessly. That's why we call it Effortless English.